All right, so I noticed that we didn't scare people away over the last 3 weeks. We're still coming. We're still faithfully coming to hear the word and to worship together. This is our 4th Sunday of us focusing on generosity, on focusing on our pathway to generosity. And so for those of you who are here visiting, for those who are here for the first time, for those of you watching either this morning with us or later during the week or next month, whenever you sign in and listen to the sermon, know that this is the last Sunday where we have been talking and focusing on generosity. This is the time during our season where we start asking people to reflect, to discern, to pray what they can give back to God, what God has already given to them, right? But God, how are they going to respond to God's blessings in a way so that we can then collect all those gifts in this congregation, and then from that be able to live fully the mission and ministry we are called to serve as the people of St. John's. So that is what you're coming into for those of you who have not been part of this journey with us. And we're glad that you're joining with us today. But I think I want to just focus about the gospel this morning gives us, I think, that heart, that kernel of what we are called to do always. Always. Not just during stewardship time, not just during pathway to generosity, but always as disciples of Jesus. And that is to serve. We are called to serve. And we hear this morning this temptation that can be in all of us, this temptation that often comes from what we hear and what we see in our culture. Here we have John and James going to Jesus and saying what? Jesus, how can I serve more? Jesus, how can I love better? Jesus, how can I walk more closely with you? Is that what they asked Jesus? No, they don't. They asked Jesus, can we be on your right and on your left? These two brothers, right? Can we be there at the top table when you're in your full glory? Can we have the prettiest robes, right? And the best dish, right? In front of us, we're at the table. Because I think that, to me, part of where that comes from, not just for John and James, but also for us, is that when we are at the top, is when we think maybe that's when we are worthy. When we are at the top, that's when we think we are most loved. And when we are at the top, that is when we feel that that's when we've arrived. I wonder if that is the reason. Because what the world teaches us is that it's only those with the glitter and the big and the biggest toys, right? Those are the ones that matter, right? And so we want to matter. We want to be loved. We want to be respected. We want to be seen as worthy and people with dignity and respect. And so I hope that in coming together week by week, listening to the messages that we preach and that we teach, not just on Sunday, but during our Bible studies, during when we're out there working together, cleaning the yard and cleaning our yard and doing our work Sundays to beautify the space, when we're out there helping with food at food banks, going before council, going before school boards, when we are serving one another, loving one another, that we feel God's love, that we feel worthy, and so that we recognize that we are beloved people of God, regardless of whether we have the most, the biggest, and the greatest. I hope, I pray that it is in coming in here and growing into this community of faith, growing into our discipleship, that we are able then to not want and long for to being at that table on the left and on the right, but that we can hear Jesus' invitation to serve one another, to love one another, and really importantly, as importantly, to be loved and to be served. Right? I pray and I hope that it is in these times and places, gatherings, studies, that we are hearing something different than what the world tells us. And it is in that gratitude of knowing and feeling and seeing ourselves and others as worthy, beloved people of God. It is in that gratitude that we then are able to be generous, because we want to continue to be in a community of faith where we can continue to be encouraged and nourished in that way. I remember when that clicked for me. I remember the moment when that became clear for me. And that was when my children were young and we were attending St. David's Episcopal Church. And one of the people, one of the stories, one of the witnesses and testimonies that I heard was from this couple who I knew from church, who also had children about my age. And they shared how they, as a family, had decided to give away 10% of their income, to share 10% of their income. And they said that has meant some years that we take shorter vacations, and sometimes that means we don't take a vacation. But that for them was something that they said they had come into a community of faith where they were learning and growing as disciples of Jesus. They were working at Trinity Center. They were working with homeless people in downtown, and they were seeing how in that they themselves were being transformed. And I remember thinking, why not me? I want that too. I have been welcomed into this community of faith. I have grown, I have been taught, I have been nourished, I have been sustained. Why not us? And I remember that conversation with my husband, where we both, I think, came to that realization at the same time. And so one of my favorite times of the year is in December, which is around our anniversary. And we sit together, the two of us, and we start writing our offerings to the church, yes, but also to other organizations that we feel are also loving and serving our neighbors. And for us, then, as it is now, it doesn't affect whether we're going to have enough to eat. It doesn't affect whether we're going to have enough to wear clothing or shelter, any of that, right? So we are not giving away something that then it puts us, outside on the street. So I'll be very, there are different interpretations of the widow's mite, and one of them I don't like. It is like, there is enough. There's got to be enough. And so that has been our practice. And it has been transformative. It has been life-giving. It has been a joyful offering, a sign of gratitude of all the blessings God has given us. It's one of my favorite things we do together as a couple, as a family, because our children know that this is part of what we do. So we don't drive the fanciest cars. We don't have the fanciest house. We don't wear the fanciest clothes, right? But we drive a car that works. We have a house that doesn't leak, right? We have plenty of food, right? We have enough, but more than enough. And so I say this not because I think everybody should do that, if that is not where you are, where you can be now, but it is to ask you to pray and to discern, how is my giving a reflection of my gratitude of all the blessings that God has given, right? That is the question. And I really like this, one of the devotionals this week is day 20. If you missed it, go back to day 20 of the devotionals that we shared with you, where there is this conversation between this pastor and one of the members of the congregation. And so she comes and she says to the pastor, is this enough? And then the pastor has a question for her. Does your gift represent the blessings God has given you? So she goes back, thinks about it some more. She comes back another week, and there's this back and forth and back. And every time the pastor keeps asking her, does your gift represent the blessings God has given you? And at the end, she says, yes, with this great big smile and filled with joy. Yes, this gift represents the blessings God has given. And I think that is the question for all of us, right? Does this gift represent the blessings God has given you? And so that you go back, so we're not collecting today, we're going to collect next week and the week after that. That you think about that, you pray about that, you discern on that. And so that when you bring your offering next week and the week after that, your estimated giving, and I think all of you should have gotten this, your little, on your letter, right? You should have had this. If you're like, oh no, I lost it, I didn't get it, I don't know where it is, it's under 3 stacks, that's okay, we'll have some more next Sunday, and after that. But that when you turn this in, right, that you can honestly say, yes, this is the gift that represents all the blessings God has given. Amen.